Evening, afternoon, hello, how you doing? I hope I find you well. Welcome to day 2, Tuesday of my, where's the thing? There it is, my New York release Facebook Live broadcast. Here's the book itself, ready to go. It is out on Friday, as you know, as I've talked about. There's the link that's going to be on the screen throughout, and as I did yesterday, I'm just going to talk to you about the book. I'm going to share a little bit of it, talk about the reviews that have been left, all of this sort of thing. Do say hello in the comments if you're watching this live. If you're watching it afterwards, do jump in and say hello afterwards. I love to hear what you say, and I love to see what you guys are thinking about these, and that these sorts of Facebook lives, YouTube lives, whatever, are useful to you. Is this just me, not necessarily useful, enjoyable to you? Is this just me sort of talking to myself in my room, talking about my writing, or is it something that you enjoy listening to? I'm really, really interested to know. Don't be a stranger. Jump in the comments and say hello. This is streaming over 2 places on Facebook and YouTube as well. So you might think you're the only person commenting, but there may be people commenting on other forms as well. So yeah, let's don't be a stranger. Right. Let's have a look. Oh, hi, Alison. Thank you for dropping by. It's been amazing to, thanks for dropping by. As I say, don't be a stranger. Pop in and say hello. Right. We're talking about this. My book, New York, the 5th in the Leo and Allissa series, which launches, which I'm putting out into the world on Friday. It's always a real sort of scary and exciting process when I finally finish the book. And send that out. It's an interesting one because it's sort of been, the ideas of the book have been going around my head for so long. It's gone through so many different I've read it time and time again. I've now sent it to a few other people that have read it, and the feedback from them has been really positive. Now it's going to come out to you guys who've pre-ordered it, and you guys who are ready to buy your paperback copies on Friday. And it is just a really sort of scary and exciting time. I enjoy it. I like it. I look forward to it, actually. And that's one of the reasons why I've sort of choosing to do these sort of broadcasts, because otherwise the launch can sort of go by without anything happening. Obviously, I like it. I like to see that people are buying the book and see the numbers of people that have. But that's not the exciting part for me. The exciting part is actually sharing the story and having you people enjoy the story. So this is it. I want this to sort of get this to sort of excite you as much as hopefully it does me. Alison, I enjoy doing them too. I enjoy having these conversations with myself and with you guys as well. So brilliant. Double thumbs up to that one. I have particularly enjoyed writing this book though, because New York's such a well-known place. So many people have had a go at sort of capturing New York in their books and in their films and TV programs and whatever. That I'm so glad to have my go at it. It feels quite like an honor actually to do that. It's the book is also set in the wintertime. I've probably not discussed that before. It's set in the wintertime. I haven't used the C word. When I say the C word, I mean Christmas. I haven't used that at all in the book, but it is set during the winter time. So I wanted it to release at the same time as it's set. So if you read it now, or in a week's time, or at some point over the next couple of months, it should seem like it's in time with where we are now. And I think that makes a difference, don't you? I mean, I know that's a hard one. You can't or just choose books based on the season they're set in, and some books are based throughout the year, aren't they? Which is a great feature as well, actually, if they last a whole year. But yeah, I wanted it. I was conscious that I wanted it to come out now, when we're in sort of a similar time to how Leo and Allissa will be when they're walking around the streets of New York. I've got another review to share with us now, which I'm going to do in a moment. These are reviews from the people I've got like a select group of pre-readers, people that read the book before release, who have just sort of supported me throughout months, and in exchange for reading the book early, they give me some feedback and correct a couple of sneaky spelling mistakes that go through, and put an honest review on the websites, Amazon and Kobo and all those sorts of things too, and Goodreads as well is one that they do. This is one from a guy called Mark, who has his own book blog called Bookmark. It's brilliant. He reviews all sorts of books, as as do a lot of people, but he's very avid reader, reads a lot. This is what he says about New York, Leo and Alyssa's 5th book. Wow. Leo and Allissa are back for this, the 5th in the series, about these pair of private investigators who travel to various places in the world trying to solve cases of missing people. Now, this book can easily be read as a standalone, as there is enough short history given, but obviously it's great to read as a 5-book series. New York carries on with the missing person theme, but has a lot of layers to it. Leo is directly linked to the missing person this time, and it's good to see how Leo handled this. And also, there's a serial killer on the loose in New York that Leo and Allissa find themselves involved with, causing mayhem and peril to them both. I love that. Mayhem and peril. Great phrases. There were some really great characters, really good and really bad. And as always with this author, they were well introduced, had interesting backstories, and were all in the book to play their part, and played it well they did. New York was described fantastically. The author has a great way of quickly making you feel as if you were there and experiencing the place, the sounds, the sights and people. The book is fast-paced and as always full of action, with lots going on. The story flows well, so you always know what's happening. I love this series, and although hard to choose, I would say New York is my favourite. There you go. We talked about this. Oh, Steve's on the chat. Hello, Steve. How you doing, mate? New York is excellent. Highly recommend. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Steve and I had a long conversation about this yesterday. He interviewed me, in fact, about the book, because we write similar sort of things, and you'll see it in YouTube or on Facebook if you skip back. It was about I think we chatted for about 50 minutes, didn't we? What's Mark say? Sorry. New York was described. There's lots going on. The story flows well, so you all know what's happening. I love this series, and although hard to choose, I would say New York is my favorite. I hope there is more books to come. I hope so too. Thank you for that, Mark. So yeah, really appreciate that. And if reviews are so important to us authors, for lots of different reasons. I'm always banging on about that. So if you're able to do that, I do massively appreciate it. I've got one more review that I'm going to share tomorrow, but there was something else I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to share with you. I'm not going to share an extract from the actual book today. I've got the cover. I should put that on the screen, shouldn't I? Where is it? There it is. It's a great cover. Really pleased with it. I'm not going to share anything from the actual book today, because I wanted to share with you something a little bit different. Now, I quite often when I'm writing, I get a bit involved in the storyline and following sort of different characters as they come through, because I love to show sort of the diversity of a city and all the different people that live there. I love showing all the different people that live in a city and all the sort of things that they do when I write. And I get a little bit distracted from the fact that that's not really the story I'm telling. That's not really the action that I should be talking about. But for me, I like that. So there's and you see that in the book. There's a few characters that we meet that don't necessarily have a big part in the story, but I've really enjoyed describing them and meeting them and talking to them and putting them in those pages. I've really loved that. There was one here, the character of which I really enjoyed writing, and I thought she was brilliant, but she just took I ended up taking this bit out. It was just too much the story didn't need this bit in, so I decided to take it out to make the book a little bit shorter. It's not very long anyway. It's only sort of 900 word section. I decided to take this bit out, but I wanted to I'm going to show it with people on my mailing list as well as a deleted scene, because I love the idea that you guys who support me on my mailing list, support me by watching these live broadcasts, get my books on pre-order, all this sort of thing. You want to see a little bit behind the scenes, I imagine. Maybe I'm wrong. I think you might want to see a little bit behind the scenes. So I love the idea that I'm sort of bringing these deleted scenes to you. So I'm going to read this deleted scene to you now. and then I will be sharing it with those of you on my mailing list at some point after the book's released. I sent a message out today on that mailing list. I will do one again on Friday that's just like it's out now, go and get it. And then afterwards, when things have calmed down a little bit, I'll share this. But this is a deleted scene from New York, and it gives you a little bit of a flavour without actually showing you anything that's in there, which I was pleased to do. Rose pulled tight the laces of her trainers and stepped out into the bright, wintry morning. It was one of those days which, despite looking warm through the window, felt bitter once you stepped outside. As she turned towards West Village, her body fell into the familiar rhythm of running. No matter how long and stressful her day as a medical intern might be, Rose knew that a good run could make her feel better. Even after just 10 minutes, her troubles just faded away. Rose glanced at her watch. She wasn't out as early as she would have liked. She would have to cut her run short today to get to the hospital in time for her shift, but she could still go around the park at least once. Rose inhaled a deep lungful of crisp city air and quickened her pace. If she pushed herself, she might make 2 laps. She turned the corner and saw the park up ahead. It wasn't one of New York's grand open spaces, just a strip of grass and trees really. But it was close to where she lived and better than running on the street. It wasn't as good as running at home, that was for sure. Up there, with the long mountain passes and wide open sky, Rose felt as if she could run forever. She'd be back soon. 6 more months to intern at Manhattan Central, then she'd have her full license. She could work anywhere she liked. She had her ideal place picked out, a small pediatric unit in her hometown of Boone in North Carolina. Rose reached the park and glanced at her watch. She'd made good time. If she kept this pace, she could easily do 2 laps. She thought of the events of that morning at home. Her husband would run the daily gauntlet of getting breakfast inside the kids before sending them off to school. Rose smiled at the thought. She missed them, of course she did, but they knew she had to do this to give them a better life when she returned. That's why she had to make this work. She'd already worked so hard to make it happen. Sitting her medical school finals at 38, she was 10 years older than most of the other students. And she had family to look after. It hadn't been easy, but she would do it. The end was now in sight. Rose glanced at her watch as she turned to run back towards her accommodation. She was cutting it fine, but she'd be okay. Work wasn't far from here. It had been fun living in New York. The work and the time away from her family were hard, but the harder it was, the more it drove her forwards. She had every reason to succeed. Failure was not an option. Of course, she wanted to stop when things got tough. That was natural. But she wouldn't just be giving up on this for herself, but for her family too. They'd all sacrificed so much for her to do this. What sort of example would quitting show her 8-year-old daughter? Rose needed to see this through. She would see this through. The job at the pediatric centre was waiting for her. She reached the end of the park and turned back into the city. Thoughts of the day ahead crowded her mind. Another 12-hour shift. Although the hours were long and laborious, she'd grown used to them. She paused at the crosswalk for a break in the traffic. She pushed her shoulder blades together, then reached down and touched her toes. She felt good, fit and flexible. She put her hands on her hips and twisted one way and then the other. She felt fired up and ready. Rose spun back towards the crossing. Don't walk, the red light glared. Rose stared across the street. A low-budget restaurant sat opposite. The lights were off and the curtains were drawn this early in the morning. The diner's daily trade of watery coffee and tasteless bagels had yet to start. Rose's breath misted in the chilly morning air. She ran on the spot to stay warm. An overflowing dumpster languished beside the diner. Was it any wonder this city had a problem with vermin? Then Rose saw something that made her stop and look. Her feet froze to the sidewalk. She narrowed her eyes and leant forwards. Something in the alleyway sparkled and shone. A car waiting at the crossing beeped. Rose raised a hand and jogged across the road. She really should get back. She would be late for her shift if she didn't hurry. The thing flickered again. Rose was just a few feet from the alleyway now. Bags of trash partly obscured the shining object. Rose stopped running and looked closely. Was she seeing things? She stepped closer. Her eyes widened. A sparkling silver dress lay discarded amid the bags of trash. It was the kind worn to an elegant party or nightclub. Rose took a step closer. The dress was torn and ragged. Then she saw something else. Her hand shot to her face. She wasn't looking at the dress anymore. She was looking at what was next to it. The massacred remains of a human body. There you go. So that's one of the scenes that didn't make it into the final cut. But I'm really pleased to sort of bring that as an additional extra. Sarah's on. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing? Sarah says, love it, Luke. Feeling the running and thinking right there with Rose. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big walker. I like getting out in the, and I have my main character Leo do quite a lot of running actually, and it's the same for me as walking. That's when the ideas come. That's when the focus goes. So, but that scene hasn't actually made it to the final cut. As I say, I've kept it back as a bit of a sort of bonus. A bit of a sort of extra for you guys who support me through these videos and those of you on my mailing list. Right, I'm back tomorrow right the way through till Friday. We're doing this every single day because I want to share with you my excitement. I feel that excitement of launching this book on Friday, finally launching this book, getting it off my desk and out to you wherever you might be. It would be amazing if you could join me for those days. This for me is, I feel this excitement about releasing the book, and I wanted to share that, and I wanted to invite you into that as well. So thank you if you're doing that. Remember, I'm broadcasting this across YouTube and two streams on Facebook. So wherever you're watching it, do pop a comment in there. It's absolutely brilliant to have a bit of a conversation going. I really enjoy that. Sarah says, yeah, she gets that with the running and the being outdoors. I think there's something meditative about sort of the way you move, isn't there? And the breathing the fresh air and all that sort of thing. And as the week goes on, definitely there will be beers involved. Certainly on Friday, perhaps on Thursday, maybe even tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. I'll get some in the fridge because it's feeling like a little bit of a celebration. Right. Thank you very much for tuning in, for spending this time with me, sharing my excitement about getting this book out. If you haven't already, that's the link right there to pre-order it. That's the quickest way to get your hands on a copy, because then it gets delivered immediately to your device on Friday morning. You can pre-order it on Amazon and on Kobo and I think one other store. All of the others, it appears on that morning. They don't do pre-orders. Apple Books, iBooks, that's the one. Apple Books. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah says it's a big deal. Well done. Appreciate that so much. Thank you. All the other stores, it appears on that morning. So when you click on that link, that will get updated. That's where you need to go. Also, paperbacks will appear as well at that time. They don't do pre-orders on paperbacks, but they will appear and you'll be able to get your copy. Right. Thank you so much for joining me as ever. I will see you tomorrow at 5. I'll be having a beer on the go, perhaps at that time. Haven't decided. I suppose it depends how things go tomorrow afternoon. Have a great